Welcome everyone to Season 7 once again. My name is Ben Sapsford, aka Sappytron, and I will be taking you through the next round of the Season 7 Championship. We've got quite an exciting one here tonight. We're going to waste very little time here as we are going to be moments away very shortly for joining our drivers up in qualifying. Now, key things to note. We've had a couple of races in this championship by this point, and we're starting to see some drivers emerge as strong top flight contenders. Looking into the field as we head through to our first proper look at where we have some championship fighters. We have, of course, the gold class, represented by the black and white driver numbers. And the ones you're going to be watching for is Lindblom with 36 points in the Nismo for this season. Previously on the Mustang, but certainly has been a strong driver nonetheless in this sudden change-up of car combination. Then you have Hartnell in the Evo 2, in the Huracan, with the Bentley Continental of Peter Wolfslener taking third place as a 33 points. Big car change-ups this season, and a pretty exciting matchup to be had for all. Looking to the silver class, denoted by the numbers in grey / silver, you have Ostrachaz in the BMW M4 GT3 on equal points, on equal footing with Thomas Linatus in the 720S GT3. Then you have Paul Hamby, of course, a surging driver from the bronze class of last season, making their way up following a decisive Season 6 victory, still adorning the Huracan, but this time with a fresh coat of paint. Finally, you have the bronze runners in the red numbers, and then you have Carl Thompson, also in the Nismo, like with Lindblom up in Pro, all gold. Then you have Aldhouse and Alex North with 33 and 27 points respectively. Regardless though, folks, we are going to waste very little time here as we are off tonight to Paul Ricard. It's going to be quite a ride here. It's fairly flat in terms of verticality and elevation, but it's going to be a quality track surface ready for plenty of fighting, plenty of racing, and plenty of overtaking opportunities. We'll be hot on board as we are set to go trackside. You can see some of the cars now making their way out as we are set to get going between the different races. Let's see what they can do. This is SIMseniors. It's the third round, and we're about to get things running through. Eyes on the prize. 15 minutes in qualifying here. We're going to be jumping on with a few different cars. We're on board with Dave Marsh, one of the drivers to be watching it out for. 6th in the gold tier of the championship. Only 2 points adrift from Tony McKibben, the main rival out in this cup so far. We have Hartnell, who's going to be leading the charge, going to be going first out for a lap of their own. We'll of course have to wait and see what they can do here. Going to be quite an interesting romp, as it is currently 29 degrees track surface temperature. So it's a good balance between tyre deg and thermal management here at Paul Ricard. He's teeing himself up through DuPont, ready to start the lap. There's going to immediately be full charge here for Hartnell. His eyes are on the prize from the word go. 3 points is all he needs to get himself an equal footing. I do apologise, I think I've got hiccups. To get himself on that equal footing with Lindblom. We'll see what he can do in terms of time. Going to be a big push here from the Huracan to try and make this one work. Jumping heavy on the brakes for the chicane at the top of the sector. You can see rotating the car quite nicely here. They make their way through. Now down to the back straight. Many might know this from its escapades in the F1 calendar, but here with GTs, it's a straight shot. It's all the way down the back straight. No chicanes to be involved. No slow down necessary, as these cars are going to be rocketing their way down almost 280 kilometers an hour before they jump on the brakes. That's a 280 there from Hartnell, and 281 before a big dive onto those brakes. Get that car nice and towed in, ready for the slowdown. Mistral Straight, of course, being the highlight of the track, could prove plenty opportunistic for many drivers to get some late surges in this race. Set themselves up for a corner at the end with the double, triple apex. Let's see what Hartnell can do, though. First time on this board. The drive is looking in their favor. A little bit of a wide extend. Oh no, that's a bit too much extend on the final corner there. He's not going to be putting that time on the boards anytime soon. We have Wolfslenner, who has just set a 53.9. Hartnell could have had a 53.7 if they had put that one down. Johan Larsson is going to be the next one up, 53.6. Solid run from themselves. Lindblom, 53.2. Rocket ship of a Nismo we are seeing on that course right now. But we have many other cars now making their way through. Adam Rios is going to be going 6th fastest, 54.7, as many others are now making their way through the course. Aldhouse, another driver to watch here. 2nd place in the Bronze Championship and has got much to play for to go against their main rival. It is going to be Carl Thompson. We'll see what they can bring as they make their way up to the line. Now, what's it going to be? It's a 55.4. Is there going to be a statement coming in from Thompson? I don't believe, in fact, we are seeing Thompson out on track. I'm not sure if he's joining us this evening. A couple of other cars. Simon Aid, for instance, making their way to the line. Race is on, but not for position. The time is everything. Aid goes up into 19th, as a couple of other cars are going to quickly displace him. That's going to be Glenn Parkinson up into 14th, just behind was another showrunner here for the bronze class. Justin Cutler has been one to watch for pros, but we will jump back with him in due time. We have Peter Wolfslenner in the Bentley here, who is coming up to the end of their lap. He is on some decent time. They need a couple more tenths at the least if they want to make this work for them. Looks like they're going to be yielding, and that leaves us with Lindblom, currently at 53.2, looks to be pushing that even further here as we head through the final hairpin. Through DuPont now, jumping on that throttle as quick as they can. A solid exit is crucial at this point. It's going to be a 0.025. Lindblom has managed to push the bar even higher here in this initial qualifying run. This leaves the door open for many others. One of the Mustangs, Sean O'Neill, making his way through as we come up to the halfway point of this qualifying session, up through and looking to see what they can make of this final sector. About a second up. This could put them firmly in the top 5 with some good running here. A good final corner. A little bit of a wider arc, but leans into the throttle and really pushes that Mustang to its limits. It's going to be 4th here for Sean O'Neill. Quite the statement in that Mustang. Looking very good for him. Got Ascari as well. 6th place after a points penalty they received. They have been displaced down in the silver runnings, but there's still plenty of time to make this work. Come up to the line. 12th. Now up into 9th. Solid run from the Ferrari. With that, most fields are now starting to calm down. We have Hopkins, one of the bronze runners as well, with John Gabbett just behind. Hopkins isn't going to get an improvement, but we can see Gabbett making a big jump. It's up to P22, a 55.4 here. You have North as well, who has just started a run. It's currently sat in 3rd. I believe we are seeing Jaime Goddard currently lead for bronze, with Hamby far and away from the rest of the field in the silvers. And then we have Johan Larsson and James Hartnell coming in 2nd and 3rd currently. Hamby pushing, trying with all his might Not quite on this run, however. Last one was about half a second down. Adam Rios, though, has a chance to make a statement coming up to the line. Quality run there. That's P8. And that's the kind of push they need. They're currently bottom of the Gold Championship and, in fact, sat on negative points. One of the few drivers to do so, having incurred penalties greater than their points haul. So they really need a good result here in Paul Ricard if they are going to have any chance at taking some shots at the higher end of this field. But Hero looking sharp in the Porsche. Final few corners as they now are looking to get their way through DuPont. Quality run there from the Porsche. It's only enough for P30, but that is improvement, and improvement is always welcomed. You can see a couple of cars, in fact, queued up at the edge of the pit lane as they don't really have a chance to get out. That could be a little bit of a bugbear for some. And for others, this is a chance to really get a good run going without any impedance. We look forward to Larson. Larson has been one, or at least if Season 6 is anything to go by, they were one of the main challengers of the likes of Lindblom, Hartnell, et al. Heading into the latter half of the 6th season, and looks to be continuing that strong trend here in qualifying. But we have 5 minutes left to go. You can see they're taking the outwards arc. They don't want to disturb anyone who is currently on a hot lap, like for instance Carl Thompson, who is joining us in the end and is going to be under a serious amount of pressure. Quali might not be on their side here, but they're coming up to the line. They have a bit of improvement. It's enough for P23. Not quite close enough to the front of the field for bronze. That's going to be taken and held by Jaime Goddard. But it is enough to get them that little bit closer and maybe give them the edge that they need. Alex North, though, is going to let that one go so quietly. Rough final sector could prove an impedance to that effort, but they're currently half a second up on the time. SIMseniors is going to be coming across as well. They are going to cross the line. They're going to make a bit of a jump, and this is going to be putting them into 22nd. Can North jump that even further? Yes, they can. It's going to be P3 in bronze. North is up into P20 overall. See, this is what always excites me about this kind of multi-class racing. You have the different dynamics, the different interactions between the three groups of drivers all at the same time. And what that means is, of course, we do have plenty of opportunities to see our drivers put each other through their paces, but also exercise that good judgment, that good sportsmanship. Because quality racecraft comes not from the driver who is the fastest, but comes from the driver who knows best how to use the speed that they have. Either way, semantics aside, Trevor Waite now coming up to the line. P17, silver class, and coming up, it's going to be P7. It's only a quarter of a tenth between themselves and Paul Hamby. So that is quite a challenge to be making to the current silver lead here in qualifying. So Ostrishars remaining the driver to be in that BRG and gold BMW, and they are going to get themselves a little bit closer, and that's going to be net P4. But qualifying isn't everyone's strong suit. Where it really matters is how you convert in the race. Homer, very, both visually and audibly loud Porsche. Coming up to the line now in P27. Where are they going to come out by the end? Doesn't look like enough of a push in the final sector. They dropped the improvement that they had. And there is going to be also a bit of improvement from Simon They're going to go one step further, get themselves back into P22. They're going to rejoin a bit of the fight near the main silver pack. Although another strong contender and positive surprise with a best second or best sector one. It's Frederick Guillemot. 4th currently. And is continuing to be the wild card out of this season. Was fresh newcomer by the looks of things. And in the sea of established names, they really are disrupting the pack. They are certainly proving themselves to be a driver not worth testing, because they will push you to your limit. Lindblom, though, is going to go out once again, and looks like they could be making a minor improvement. They're currently sat on a 53.0, and all they need is that 12 milliseconds, and they will reach the hallowed 152s. This could be a chance for them. Down to Mistral Strait. Also get a bit of an idea of who is leaning more towards top speed versus cornering performance. You see on the speed trap, 286 miles or kilometers per hour. Miles per hour, that would be much scarier. 286 coming in, clocked from the Nissan, and it's going to be an abandon on the lap. That could have been it, but a bit too far on the push. It's not going to be a winning day for Lindblom. No 52s as of yet, although it's not out of the question. Could see a couple of drivers make it from the 54s to 3s. Nick Coulin coming up to the line now. Is there going to be a solid improvement? Yes, that's up to P10. Barely missing out on a 53, but still a solid time and solid improvement. Qualifying has officially ended now, folks, which means that we will see the final runs of drivers being completed. And among them is current P3 of Hartnell, who could, with just 5 milliseconds needed, put themselves on that front row alongside Lindblom. Larson isn't going to take that one lightly, but Hartnell has a chance to make an opening statement. You can see, in fact, that Larson is slightly behind on the clocks. A little bit of skittishness under throttle. Is there going to be enough in the tank there for Hartnell? Yes, there is. That's a .170. Within a tenth and a half of current pole sitter Lindblom, and that is going to be the last few cars making their way round now. You can see there's Aldhouse, 26th. Richard Cook, interestingly, the only driver who has not set a time. Maybe they prefer to show it all on the racetrack. But Aldhouse now coming through. Cumberbatch is going to be getting a potentially massive improvement here, as there's going to be Linatus, and finally Cumberbatch goes into 15th. Quality runs there, and with that your timing is all but sealed. You have Lindblom coming in with the pole time of the 53.012, followed by Hartnell and by Johan Larsson. That's going to be a strong first grid for the pros, and for the gold class in particular is going to be a real tough fight at the top. Hamby is going to lead silver alongside Trebleweight, and then Thomas Linatus a little bit further down the road, but a silver grouping as well. That is certainly one to be wary of. And then coming down to the bronze, you have Jaime Goddard taking pole alongside Chris Wilson and Glenn Parkinson. A strong field all round, and we will be, of course, very excited to see what these racers do when push comes to shove, when quali comes to race. We will be taking a short intermission though, folks, so do not go anywhere. And we will be returning when the race is on and when the drivers are fired up on the formation lap ready to go. Welcome back, folks, and after an exciting qualifying, we are ready to head into the race good and proper. Now, for those who haven't been here before, we are headed over to Paul Ricard, and like with any round, we have a 15-minute qualifying which just took place, and following that is a 60-minute race. Drivers are required to take a pit stop during this race as well, with the option of having tyres as part of their strategy. So there's always the trade-off. You will need to fuel, but can you also get away with a new set of tyres? Is the drop-off, the degradation, strong enough where you will need it? Or if you have some good tyre management, some good thermal management, along with a strong setup in your car, you could save and shave time on the pit stop. We've seen a couple of drivers who have done a bit of a different strategy in this season and gone for more of a splash and dash approach. They've gone and taken the pit stops to the very line, and we will be seeing that in due course as we are now going to be jumping trackside. Of course, let us know who you are keeping your eye on, and we will be making our way down now. The racers are set. The drivers are gearing up. And for the third round here in SIMseniors, we are going to have plenty of fight. You can see it all on formation, and they'll be dropping down to 60 kilometers in order to get the gaps between the cars shrunken down. And then once the green flag hits, that is go for everyone. Pandemonium ensues. Racing is going to be absolutely peak. We're just riding on board now as they all get themselves into that fighting mindset. The racers are going to be... Well, we can see Hartnell going for a bit of a tyre warming exercise. Get the heat into those rubbers. But almost in a menacing fashion, so many other drivers on this circuit refuse to weave. Now this could be a masterclass strategy, minimizing the wear as much as humanly possible on those tires and let the heating up happen in the race. Maybe they've got that much confidence in the pace that they don't need to artificially heat the tires before the start. They might be fully up to temp at racing speeds by sector 2 for all we know. All depends on how the cars have been set up and how the drivers have taken to their car's suspension geometry, aero profile, and so many other characteristics, all boiling down to a car that a driver can trust. So many cars lining up. One question holds firm for Lindblom as we stand here. Strong qualifying, strong races, but strong competition. Who's going to come out on top? We haven't seen the massive advantage that we've seen in previous rounds with relative to the Deltas. So the cars are now going to be condensing themselves down. Oh no, managing to clinch the second place spot and get alongside the race leader. A little bit further, but they will be drawn back in due course. Making sure that everyone is up with the field, up with the group. Then all we wait now is for the call from race control. But for the third time here in SIMseniors, the track is hot once more. This time it's France. This time it's Paul Ricard. And this is where things get interesting. The red lights and the green. And it's away we go for an exciting round immediately. That's going to be Lindblom trying to press the advantage and try and get into the ideal position to defend from the course. You've got Johan Larsson going alongside the Bentley of Wolfsländer trying to regain that P3, but it's not going to be any dice. A little bit of a wiggle coming from the rear axle of Lindblom there as they try to hold firm, try and hold on to position. We've got a couple of incidents potentially there, as well as there is going to be a big bunch up at the mid-pack. We've got, say, on board with McNair from the helicopter as they are dropping a couple of positions, but looking to push back. Just got to be careful. There's no major contact. There's no major battles and strife. Preferably taking it a little bit safer. He's choosing not to challenge, not to fight as hard as he maybe could, just because he knows that things could get very, very dicey for him very quickly unless he stands his ground. He stays out of trouble. He can use the slipstream a little bit to get through this pack. There's going to be a 2. It's going to be a 3. 3 wide as we head down the Mistral Straight. Many other cars firing their way down here. It's going to be a yield from Dave Marsh. As there's going to be a big slide coming in. That is going to be Lenota's going sideways, barely keeping it together on the track. Much more fire and fight between these racers. Let's take a quick look around. You can see them all flying through. Leonardo's struggling to get his car reined back in. And then looking up to the front, we have Guillermo keeping as much of a proximity as they can to Larson. Both in the McLaren, both roughly on even keel, and both know what each other is capable of. First lap starting to come in now. We look a bit further down. We can see the Aldhouse is down into P26. Not looking good for them here because there's a lot of pressure riding on their shoulders in particular. Tough to discern. Did they get involved with an incident early on? Not that easy to say. Either way, car looks mostly fine. The gaps are starting to peter out as the grid gets more acclimatized to the racing surface and gets more acclimatized to their surrounding cars. Hamby could be on the books for a substantial lead and substantial win compared to their opponents out here, as they have got 3 gold class drivers in between himself and Hermé. Wait, also making a bit of a challenge on those positions here. We're going to see, there's Colin. He's going to make it 1. He could make it 2. Doesn't quite have the proximity to the Ferrari. Cutler is going to be going for an attack side by side as well as we come out the Mistral Straight. They're going to have the inside on the double apex. This is going to be forcing Rios to take a bit of a back seat in their own fight. And oh, that's Hartnell sideways. What's happened to Hartnell? I don't even know where to begin with that. Let's see exactly what happened. Let's take the helicam. As you can see, going out the Mistral Straight. Going for a bit of a push. Bit too much curb and just drops the rear. Spins round. Unfortunately, they are going to be stopped right in the middle of the track. Racers having to take evasive action. In the end, the best he's going to be able to do is rejoin right at the back of this field. That is a all but a death blow to his racing efforts here. Driving is going to be intense for sure, but I don't think anyone expected Hartnell, of all people, to go literally from near first to dead last. That was not on my bingo sheet for tonight's race, that's for sure. But 5 minutes in, and we are starting to see a lot of things settle. We have Holmberg and Hartnell both in the pit. I think Hartnell is looking to bow out of this one. With an incident like that, I wouldn't blame him either. A bit more fighting further down the order as well. Like Hartnell is going to be You see they're down in the pits. Holmberg is going to be making a swift exit and then coming out of the Mistral straight for this third lap. There's Nick Cullen trying to get some pressure down on Rios. Cutler started to make a bit of a breakaway. Hermé and McNair are going to be silver drivers they need to watch out for because they are not going to hesitate to push upwards. They don't have a skin in this fight, nor do they need to. They just want to get to the driver that they care about. Oh, we see Lenatus though continuing to look a little bit on edge. See that wobble, we see that snap from the McLaren. They either could have had their car set up to be very snappy, very pointy, or this is genuinely a driver struggling to keep his car poised on the limit. Either way, Cumberbatch in the BMW isn't going to capitalise yet, but is certainly going to be reeling him in. The fight is on. Not in this case with his opponents, but for Lenatus it seems to be the car. We'll see what he can do to get that McLaren under some control. Have a similar story coming out from a couple of other McLarens. We've got Patrick Larson here, one of the Wolfslander Racing drivers. Or the Wolfpack Racing drivers, I should say. Very easy to associate it. But Larson is going to keep that pressure high. Of course, we've seen how powerful the slipstream, the tow is on Mistral. Case in point, look a bit further up the field. You have Hamby right on the back of O'Neill. You have a drag race with McNair and Hermé also going a little bit further down the order. Hamby is trying to put some serious pressure down. You can see O'Neill. Guillemard is also going to get involved with this. But Larson, Goddard, side by side out the exit of Mistral. Someone's going to have to give. Both McLarens are vying for that P18 spots. They're going to be jostling, jousting all the way through the exit. And now heading into the final sector of the course properly. You've got the Porsche also of Mansell, who is trying to gauge any potential opportunity, like a vulture, to snap up some eager positions. So as we lie in wait, and the first 10 minutes is coming to its end, this is where the playing field starts to be established, where the drivers truly understand the situation that they are in. For some, it's a winning one. You look to the top, Liam Blom, for instance, currently about 4 seconds clear of Peter Wolfslander in that Bentley. For others, it's not so simple. You look to the bottom, we see Hopkins, who is down in P30, but is still pushing to try and get some positions away from Craig Niesbet, who didn't have the strongest qualifying. They were down at the bottom of the order. Hopkins has a chance here to clinch some positions with well-timed and well-placed attacks. Track is 29 degrees. It was 30 a little bit earlier on, but isn't going to be staying that way. You got Hamby though going for a chance. Sean O'Neill has already taken the move on Guillemard. Could it make it double? Another Wolfpack Racing driver on this course, and another driver under some serious pressure. The Hamby has a chance to make that gap between himself and the likes of McNair, Hermé, Waite, Lenatus even larger. But maybe there's something deep down that knows that such a battle would be a foolish one, considering there'll be nothing to gain. Don't forget, overextending yourself in the first stint could have dire consequences. You might be forced to change your strategy. You might be forced to take on a bit more fuel than you initially planned. You may have burned excessively. A little bit of a wobble coming out from the McLaren of Guillermo's there. Had to briefly touch upon the sausage curbs. We see a couple of other cars continuing to fight. Hermie and McNair, they've been dueling it out for a good chunk of this and previous lap here. And McNair trying to reassert his dominance, his position. As it looks like we have Peyton in the pit. One driver who is pushing towards the bottom of the field, unfortunately. Batch could be closing. Hamby is on a run. Who's that going to be? Who is it going to be? It's Paul Hamby. Guillermo is going to be on his inside, and he's had to be acutely aware of this. He knows that he's got a driver to watch out for. There you go. There's Hamby up into the top 5. And for a silver driver, this is really testing his mettle. He's now got 4 pro drivers, or pro gold drivers, let's say. By default, they're called pro, so I keep making that slip up. 4 golds between himself and McNair. Currently leads that second field. Scari is half a second down on the Nismo as we head now into this next lap. There's 6 laps on the board. And current stance is that the drivers are starting to settle and calm. The field is reaching a point of equilibrium now. There's not necessarily any drama. But what there is the racers who are going to start focusing rather on fighting, putting some miles down. If an opportunity presents itself, then of course, there will be that judgment and that fight for position. Case in point, there could be a chance for Hamby to go even further beyond and take P4 on O'Neill. He's going to have quite a fun time with him challenging that Mustang. It's a drag race between the two. The Mustang, of course, known for its speed. Regardless, Paul, he's going to go for it. He's going to make Sean O'Neill's day. And then coming through. That's a fight that this time, at least, wasn't quite able to win. He has put that pressure down on O'Neill and has reminded him what he's up against, though. So I would not say that it's a fruitless endeavour, so much as it is continuing to build that gap. I know we had that question mark lingering, but now it is all becoming clear as to who is really going to be one to watch. And let's take a quick whistle-stop tour of the field, as there are other cars who are fighting for their own spots. Carl Thompson is going to be challenging alongside, that's Jaime Goddard. Ooh, a little bit of a wobble there for the McLaren. It's going to see the number 774 car. Going to be making a bit of an excursion up in this field. Currently, Wilson leads. Thompson is sat in P4. The jury is still out on who is going to come out on top here, as they could be very quickly closing the gap. Thompson and Aldhouse are set to have quite the battle, but then looking a bit further down, we have Cutler, who's dropped a bit of position. Rios is up into 6th and is proving to be quite the disruptor, as Guillermo is going to drop now into 7th spot. You can see the snap from the McLaren. They are feeling that pressure. And that drive from the rest of the field is being put to the test. Rios does have this spot, this opportunity to get much needed points on the table. Remember, himself and Cook are on negative score. So Richard Cook, who's currently down in P27, they are seriously in need of some points. They stand in the danger zone. Abby even looking for a chance on the outside, heading in to the top of the circuit. Either that or just teeing up for a better line up into the Mistral. Could be, by all means, teeing himself up. Let's see what he does here. The kind of speed he's able to push. We saw them go side by side in a bit of a drag race last time we were here. There you go. There's 285 kilometers. Is that going to be enough for the push of position? Doesn't quite look like it yet, but if he can keep that close proximity, that might be enough. Reel him in closer and closer. Use that slipstream. Use it to good effect. Like Marsh has had a bit of a struggle because they have dropped quite the position count. Now down into 16th, and I believe the... Oh no, so you got still Richard Cook and Hartnell, who is trying their best to recover. Has managed to make it up to 32nd, but they've still got quite a ways away. 35 seconds to be exact. There are going to be other cars who are trying to push up. We have seen, once again, a little bit of a positional trade. This time, Hamby on O'Neill once more. The crucial thing here in all of this is that Hamby is this time going to be ahead heading into Mistral. You got Larson a few seconds up the road at least, but Hamby's now got 5 cars between himself and McNair. In time terms, not much, but for racing, having those cars between you is a godsend. You've effectively got extra lives. Rios is going to be making a look. He's going to make it double. He could go double jeopardy. That's going to be 2. That's going to be 3 wide. Sean O'Neill is going to have the inside, and that's a spin. That's off. That is Hamby off the course completely. Does a 360, quickly tries to rejoin the track. Not looking good for the Lambo whatsoever. Let's take another look from the helicam. So you can see here, that's Rios on the left. Goes for an attack. Sean O'Neill goes to the right. 3 abreast, heading to the end of the straight. Someone has to yield, someone has to give. And in the end, it looks like Hamby either cut a bit too deep, or that was Sean O'Neill trying to keep the nose in where it should have been. Of course, I'm no race steward. I'll leave that one to the professionals. But one thing's for sure, that is going to be a very sore spot for Hamby after such a good run. They are now being dropped all the way down that order. They are going to be firmly down in P7 for the Silvers. And I would be just as mad if I was in his position. Looks like we are starting to see a couple of cars go into the pits now. We are 20 minutes in. And we have got Carl Thompson heading in. They're going to be our 5th driver to do so. We are seeing as well a bit of a fight between McNair and Coolin. Though McNair now has a chance to take the lead of Silver, capitalise on the opportunity. Now, he is going to have quite the challenge on his hands, however. Oh, that's a bit of oversteer. That's cool and nearly taking it off the track completely. That's going to be a chance for Scary, maybe to take a spot or two. We'll see. As we will be soon coming up to the halfway mark. A couple of drivers are going to make that judgment call whether right time to head into the pits is now or maybe later on. We're just taking a look around at some of the other drivers on this field, particularly the mid-pack with the silver class. That is the place to be. You've got so many of the same class of driver in such close proximity. Looks to be the most competitive class to be watching right now. There is much to be said about how some of these drivers, particularly I'm looking to the likes of Cumberbatch, very low down in the points right now, 13th in the silver standings, but fighting tooth and nail to get their class podium. It's going to be Trevor Waite who's the target here. Linatus and Ostrachaz is going to be following closely behind and be trying to do a bit of a recovery effort meanwhile. Luckily, with the 5 gold class cars between themselves and Colin, they have got themselves a bit of a safety net that they've been able to use. So the damage has been reduced. There is a bit of damage limitation at play here, though not enough to mask the fact that there is still some serious bruising to the talent as well as the race efforts. We're coming up through lap 12 here, 12 on the board. And immediately, one thing that stands out to me, we are on the precipice of that halfway line, is the racers are actually slowing down in a good way. They are opting not to push. Certainly not push as hard as they were. Oh, there is contact. That is Bruce Hopkins making a contact on the final corner with John Mitchell. Hero is going to be trailing behind a little bit closer, making use of the battles between the two. But the drivers are actually getting slower, and this is a sign that they are going to be focusing on putting the laps in. Put the time in. Close down the miles. You do not need to give yourself 110% every lap, because that is going to be asking for trouble. You are asking to have an incident. Everyone on an average about a second to half a second slower than their initial peak times at the start of this race. taking a bit of a breather does have its benefits. Although saying that, Cutler has just gone and set his personal fastest time of the course so far. We have got Sean O'Neill heading into the pit lane. So Trevor is also going to be... Oh no, they are not heading to the pit lane. Looks like they just had a bit of an incident. A couple of cars thinking we're heading into the pits, but actually not so much. I do love the sort of style fusion. You have the Rothman livery, also iconic on cars like the Porsche 959, adorning a GT3 racer. It's a bit of a culture clash, but I gotta say I do love how it looks on that one. Suits it very well in a roundabout way. A bit of battling continue further down the order, as this is Lenatus and Mansell. Could be the start of a three-way clash, as you've got Alex North, who is behind, who is actually a lap down, so they have taken their pit stop already. John Gabbert is going to be joining the ranks of drivers who have pitted in. Donatus and Mansell going to keep in some close proximity, with Hopkins looking for a chance too. This is going to be them going on John Mitchell. It's the Rothmans Porsche being the target in their sights. And the target now in their rear views. It looks like they've accomplished it with relative ease. Here we are, halfway point now. The fight is going to be fierce at the top end. So P5 through to P10, that's where I've got my eyes on. But look to the front. Liam Blom, 7.7 seconds. I know it's almost been comical how little time we've been spending with our race leader, but there is very little that you can comment on. He's effectively been able to lock in, get himself out of trouble, get himself into his own space on the course, and is now, by essence, hot lapping. That's all he's doing. He's hot lapping under a race traffic circumstance. He's not actually having to race that hard. He's not having to jostle and fight for the positions. He's not losing time on defending. He's just putting in his best work. And this runaway train is a big problem for the likes of Wilsener, Larson, Cutler, etc. They've got to get that under control if they want any chance of taking the lead. And whoa, big slide from Rios. That has forced McNair to take some evasive action. Very scary, hot in mouth moment coming in from the silver class runner. Oscari Hume is going to be very close and lying in the wings, however, so McNair is by no means out of the woods yet. But now, on the halfway line, we see a few more drivers start to consider heading into the pit. For one, Hamby. Lenatus going to do the same. And this is where we will see potentially a couple of our leaders also think about such strategic move. The question is going to be the fuel. Not necessarily the tyres, because drivers seem to have done a good job of managing them. The fuel loads that they decided at the start are going to be what carries them through. So we will be seeing the likes of Oscari, Rios, McNair challenging on that track space, challenging for that potential position, though how close they are to be able to receive a tow is up for debate. Hamby now rejoining in 24th position as a couple other cars are going to be clearing their way through. And the pit straight is going to get very populated over these next couple of laps. Though not in the ways that we might think. Again, these drivers in the top end of the field have been known, in at least one of the 2 rounds, to go for a very late strategy. To take it literally to the final minutes, then pit in for a splash and dash, just to satisfy the pit lane requirement. Get it back out there as soon as they can. But will there be a pit from the top? There will be a pit. That's going to be Cutler and Hermé. That leaves Colin McNair in a bit of a awkward position, because of course his main challenger has pitted. You might think this is good, but this also leaves him in his own bubble where he can't maybe sidechain off another driver, or he can't use them to push himself forward. He can maybe lean on Rios, but even then Rios has not got the same drive to fight and challenge him as the likes of Hermé would. Closest you've got is Cumberbatch, who's over 3 seconds down the road. There will be, of course, an option, but so many drivers are now in the pits. Wilson, Mansell, Mitchell, Hopkins. Hermé now exiting the pit lane in P17. The thing is, look at the likes of Hartnell. They're going to be up in 22nd and up into 21st as they cross that line. But it's still, and you can tell, it's nowhere near where they want to be. Considering that they were fighting at the sharp end of the field. Within striking distance of a few seconds between himself and Lindblom. This has got to be a recovery drive of the ages to salvage some meaningful points from this run. See a couple more cars now coming out onto the course. Mitchell is going to be following shortly behind Hopkins, joining in 31st out of 35 cars. We saw no major incident as well, which is always a pleasant surprise to see at the start of the race. We have at times had some early incidents, and I'm thrilled to say that that has not been such a case. The driving force is a strong one for these runners. And with many other cars now making their way through onto lap 17, Rios, Cumberbatch and Goddard are the next drivers to be in that pit lane. That leaves most of the field now having taken it, and only a few cars at the front, at the sharp end, about 13 of them, yet to pit in. This is where we're going to see a sudden advancement from the likes of Hamby, who has managed to get themselves in quite a decent position. They're going to be a couple of seconds up the field of Ascari. They have got at least a little bit of a jump on some of the other silver cars. So will they be able to push and get themselves back up to where they want to be? We will see. Lindblom, however, 54.002 best time, is going to finally be in the pit. Where will they come out? Let's find out. Wolfsteiner is going to inherit lead of the race for now, as drivers are going to be now looking at their strategic options, evaluating the correct next move. Sorry, going to be currently leading out of the field that has got their pit stops under their belt. But let's see how quickly some of the leaders here are going to be able to pit in. You can see Liam Blom set to come out any second now. He's going to be now in 9th position. So Liam Blom is going to be taking a bit of a longer stop than planned. There we go. That is Liam Blom on release. McNair and Cullen now in. And Liam Blom has seen themselves re-emerge still within the top 10. So Scotty could be within a shot of closing some of the time. Early pit stop is going to pay them dividends. There you go, McNair and Cullen going to be much further adrift, much further down that road. And the undercut has been vital here as a strategic shake-up. Maybe a little bit of fighting has been just enough to displace any chances. See a little bit of a slip coming in from the McLaren of Holmberg. As this is going to be Chris Mansell getting a position as a treat. Holmberg was taking a bit of a slide through that first sector. Got it under control now, but too little too late. It already has the spot. And we have Ostrachaz heading into the pits now, leader for Silver. Hard to beat, but will they come out on top? We have seen that the pit strategy this late in the game has not been favourable for some. But we, of course, eagerly anticipate the results. This is going to be Liam Blom now crossing over. Wallsledder, 5.5 seconds. Not from Larson. Means that they have got themselves in quite a healthy spot. Who knows, maybe they go for a little bit earlier stop than Larson and Guillemard, who might be stretching all the way to the end. And that could see them emerge at the top. Wilsoner has effective control, and with 6 seconds up the road from Larson, who themselves has 8.7, and 12.7 after that, off to Patrick. There's a chance to make a strategic judgment call that could vastly affect their race result. The only question is, are they going to take it? They progress onto lap 20, but they will have to eventually make a pit lane visit. Now, only 8 cars remain who have yet to stop. Curiously, Richard Cook is going to be a driver who has pitted twice, along with Sean O'Neill, hence them being down all the way in P20. That's Patrick Larson now going to be jumping in. Meaning there are only a few drivers remaining who've yet to go down into the pits, and it's likely we won't see them in said pits until the last 10 minutes, if that. Key chance here for some position gains. Who's going to be one who makes it work, who makes it happen? They've got the lap times dropping. Patrick Larson now coming out of the pits. Where are they going to arrive? It's going to just be behind Ostrachaz. Going to be a bit of an ego check for him. He was really gunning to get that early jump. Fortunately not to be. Not this time. Whatever is a racer to do? I'll tell you what a racer is to do. Missing a possibility to see who did pit and who didn't. Unfortunately, the pit indicator, if we try and turn it on here, is not consistent. So I can tell you now that this pit indicator is very much not accurate to the data that has been shown. So have tried to get it working, and it has not been functional in our favor. So that's why we don't have it on. I see exactly what you mean there, Jimmy. But we have not got it in a working state, it seems. So rather be presenting it vocally than not at all. And certainly not using or communicating misinformation. Because that's the last thing that anyone wants. Here we are. Opportunity falls the way of the Lamborghini. That's Paul Hamby being given a chance. A chance to recover. A chance to be more again. Where will he land? Only time will tell, but he's back up into the top 10. And I don't see anything standing in his way from staying that way. Big swathe of cars heading up to Mistral. Good to see you, Desi. Welcome. Well, this could be a double head. Rios has gone for it. Homer's being left in the dust. Ostrichards is next on the cutting floor. That's going to be a shot into P11. Rios has got a chance. Cumberbatch, Hartnell, they are going to have a bit of a drag race of their own just in the distance. You can see just there for a split second with Hartnell actually lagging a bit behind. They're not able to keep that fight, keep that close proximity. Could the spark be gone for Hartnell? Could they be fading a little bit potentially? Homer, one thing's for sure, Homer is not operating at peak. It has not been Homer's day. They are dropping positions fast. They could be anything from technical issue to maybe something more. Looks like they're back on their feet now though. Looks like they're pushing back up to race percent pace. And now only 6 drivers, so only the top 6 have yet to pit in, folks. To give you a refresh on that kind of trackside information in the absence of the graphics, we have Wolfslener, Larson, Guillemot, Marsh, Waite and Aldhouse, all who've yet to take an excursion into the pit lane. We'll of course see, but we are getting to the final quarter, the final 15 minutes of the race tonight. So eyes on those top 6, where they land after the pit, and who they are going to be challenging when they come out. They're 8.3 seconds up the road from Larson. Wolfslener has got this stage of the race, at least, in his hand. And we see a big charge through Mistral as well, as there is, once again, the familiar drag race. Hartnell is dropping another spot. This time it's going to be to Colin McNair. Cumberbatch and Larson trading positions themselves. Dave Marsh now heading into the pit lane. It's going to make it 5 remaining.
Rios has a chance to get into that top 10 with Paul Hamby just up the road. The racers, it's now time to really start your engines because time is running out for many cars. They need to show their A game, show their best performance. Dave Marsh now coming out of the pits is going to be in P8, so remains strong, remains firm. Rios is going to push himself up into that top 10 with Hamby now dropping a spot here. And a drop comes out from Robert Homer as they themselves are also jumping into that pit lane. Concertina effect of cars very much being a presence. Ian McNair keeping an eye on Hartnell's movements. He's got quite a lot of pressure on his shoulders. For Hartnell, this is of course a recovery drive. This is him trying to fight his way back up to the top. For McNair, this is a chance to show the rest of the field that the owner has really got some moxie to put it down on the track as well. They don't just back it up with making the event. They race them. They conquer. A formidable presence on the track. And with the drivers seeing where they can score some points. Gotta say, this is the point in the championship where you see the most disruption in terms of points narratives. We have a few drivers who have been ones to watch, but this is where you see some of the midfielders really push up, really start punching upward and getting some big points hauls under their belts. Take for instance Old House. Old House is on track, provided they get that pit stop done and well timed. They are on track to take a massive points haul and displace out of the top spot none other than Carl Thompson, who's currently P25 and much further down the timing order. Holmberg is going to be going in for what looks like a second pit stop in a very curious move, with Wolfslander now going on to lap 25. No break in pace since the start, still within half a second on their last lap of their all-time session best. Lindblom's crept his way up into 5th and is slowly working to close the gap. 53.272. Lindblom's looking like an absolute weapon pace-wise. I wonder if they got fresh tyres. If they got fresh tyres, that would explain the consistently high pace. Trevor and Oldhouse now in. Where is Oldhouse going to come out as someone I'm particularly interested for that narrative, that side of the story? Hartnell is coming up to the back of Larson and Coulon. And has got a bit of fight him in yet. Trevor now coming out of the pits. It's going to be emerging in P7. We're getting a good space. Oldhouse, where are you going to be coming out? Are you going to be ahead of Thompson? Yes, you are. You're going to be jumping straight onto the back of the fight with Hartnell, Larson, and Coulon a little bit further. Oldhouse has a chance. And he's going to take it. Back up to the top 10. Rios could be looking for a chance on Dave Marsh. All comes down to how he gets the speed managed. Tickles the Nismo got plenty of speed on tap. Where is Marsh going to be coming out? You can see there's the green Porsche. Any retaliation from the number 27? Doesn't look like it. Looks like they conceded the position thoroughly. And the proximity has also been lost. Johan Larsen that is, finally heading into the pit lane and is going to be coming out in 4th spot. They're going to get that quick pit stop in. Leaves Lindblom about 9 seconds adrift. With Hartnell starting to gain their way back up. Out of Mistral and into Sector 3. Eyes on them. Cook is in the pit and along with Holmberg is looking like they're going to be staying there. Making 2 effective retirees. With the final 10 minutes underway, we've had the setup phase, we've had the disruption phase, 2 positions, and now is the final point of the race where the drivers need to affirm and commit to where they want to land by the end of the race. Do they push up? Do they push high? Or do they play it safe and hold firm? That's the question everyone on this field needs to answer. Visery, for instance, could go up into 28th. They could push for some much needed points and challenge Mitchell. Do they have enough on tap to chase down Jaime Goddard? That I cannot tell you. What I can tell you standing here is that Visery has a chance with P28, but further is anyone's guess. Likewise, Aldhouse, a couple of tenths of a second behind Patrick Larson. You can see them already going for it, but are they going to push higher to try and catch Hartnell, or are they going to be satisfied and content with the P16 that they are trying so desperately to attain? Beanbomb 20 seconds away from Gale, but with the 27th lap now underway, that could be set to change. Remember, Gaimar and Wolfslanner have not yet taken a pit stop. They still need to. They can't afford to bide any more time. At best, they have 2 more laps before they have to come in. Doing so too close to the end of the race could be a problem. Not only for strategy, but it might draw some ire from your other drivers out on the course. McNair is going to be going for a interesting move on position. They're going to be going into the first corner. They'll take Ostrachars up on the offer of P11. And are now into P4 for Silva. Quality run there. Yeah, it looks like Holmberg and Cook are out of the running in full, as they have been in the pits for several minutes now, which is a effective retirement. Though hesitant to call it that, because they are still in the race weekend. They are still here in the paddock. Not necessarily in the racing spirit. There's going to be Cumberbatch going for a shot. Ostrachars looking like easy pickings for the other BMW, and is going to take it. Both of them looking striking and quick. Even putting on the cautions a little bit for a second there, almost as if to say thank you. What a considerate on-track rival. That, or just flashing the lights to tease them a little bit. You take your pick. You decide. Always open for that discussion. Then you have McNair and Hamby. united for the seat of the top 10. Hamby on the cusp, 2.5 seconds away. McNair, a couple of tenths, and within striking distance, getting into that coveted top 10 list. They're going to be going side by side for it. Hamby's not going to have any of it, going to have much better speed on the outside line. But there could be an opportunity for a switchback, or at least a claiming of the apex by McNair. Good run through that first sector, remains committed to the infield. Hamby's going to take the ideal racing line, catch as much speed as they can. You can see the slight deviation in lines. Hamby having to take a bit more of a defensive stance, where they do not have the luxury of playing the traditional racing line. Slipstream is going to get McNair within that claw. Cumberbatch could be doing the same. But right now, eyes on McNair. McNair's going for it. They're into 10th. They have the position firmly locked in. This could be a chance for Hamby to strike, however. 4 minutes left on that clock. And eyes up on the top as we do have Guillemot now in the pit. We have Wolfslenner who's come out of the pit and is just half a second behind Lindblom. So that late strategy once again proving to be an on-track weapon. Guillemot themselves is only going to be coming out P4 and is going to be miles clear of Oscari. There you go, that late pit strategy is proving to be viciously effective. And I, for one, am certainly impressed. Wolfslenner has done an amazing job controlling this race from their perspective. And now, while they haven't been necessarily on top, they have shown that they have the pace and the strategic knowledge to make an exciting race out of this one. Ostrachar's a little bit confused and frustrated, as this is Hamby currently holding the position ahead. Hamby could try and push up, considering they're only 1.5 seconds. It's Cumberbatch going for a maneuver, but with Ostrachar's on the tail, seems unlikely. We have the final 2 minutes now. We will get a call from race control if they decide that this is going to be the final lap. We'll have to, of course, wait. Of course, the predictive final lap timer coming up to the line now for Lindblom. Is there going to be enough on the table? There is no race control call. Lindblom could split this to a lap 31 in the dying seconds of this race. This is really going to come down to the wire, folks. I don't think I've ever seen, or if this comes to pass, I don't think we'll ever have seen such a close to the wire final lap from the race leader. Hey, Ostrachar's ahead of Hamby. Hamby, I think, conceded down Mistral. Unavoidable in a way. That's not insurmountable. They will continue this trade back and forth, of course. Look forward to see how the racers make this interesting for us here at the commentary box and you at home. Of course, give us a bit of love if you've enjoyed what we do here at SimSeniors. We've got the Facebook group, you've got the Discord server after you've done all of that, and then you've got, of course, the stream itself. Bit of a love with a like, and if you enjoy, and do consider subscribing, because we have championships like this most Tuesday nights, as well as other events that happen within the community. And what is an unexpected curveball in all of this? Cutler. Cutler won't be making any positions home for his class up in gold, but he will be putting some pressure down on Oscari Hirame. Currently the silver lead and the driver to beat. Lindblom is going to come up to the line. And there you go with a single second. You hear it from yourselves for race control. Lindblom with 1 second is going to make this a run for lap 32. That is quite the statement to make. And then meanwhile, you look at the rest of this field, you can see that Cutler has gone for the move. They've gone for the final sector. Ascari is going to be dropped down to P6 and into the clutches of a potential attack too from Adam Rios. Now, currently 15th, trying to close into 14. Cumberbatch on the back of Dave Marsh too. Hamby has dropped some serious pace down. They are winning 1:57 last lap. And it looks like this is going to be dropping a little bit further too. Okay, so have got them back on track. And a 57 is a concerning sign for lap time. Butler and Ascari continue to trade blows. This time is Ascari getting back ahead of Mistral. And they will, of course, continue to duke it out. But throughout all of that, there has been one silent voice charging through. Even when under a slight threat from the likes of Wolfslander with a great strategy. Really, there's only one. You see Lindblom coming through. You see him come up to the line with another race and another dominant display under the belt. Lindblom is going to take top honours by finishing the race in first for gold. Wolfslander is going to be coming in second. And then rounding out that line is going to be none other than Johan Larsson. Bit of a celebratory weave as they come through. Ascari Hermit with an immense display of driving prowess and strategic mastery is going to be quite a driver to watch. Ooh, that's Adam Rios, who's off the field. But right now, Hermit across the line in a spectacular showing to win for silver. Up the line there, Cutler just coming up behind, followed by Trevor and Colin in second and third. A healthy points haul. I'm sure they're going to be very happy with that performance. Ascari in particular, being in the middle of the championship, this could be what they need to slingshot their way up. Looking further down, and leading and winning is going to be Aldhouse for bronze, followed by Chris Wilson, second place there. And then you have Glenn Parkinson making their way through the final sector now, showing themselves to be quite a racing force. There you go, folks. That is where we draw the wraps. As the final cars then make their way through, going to be Lenatus and Rios rolling their way across the line rather than racing their way down it. And an unfortunate one for them there, but that is time. Of course, we do unfortunately lose Holmberg and Cook and all of that. But what a racing run from so much of this field. So kudos in particular, of course, to our class winners. And with that, that is where we draw a close on tonight's running. Now, you want to be sticking it around here much more, because soon, folks, in just a week's time, we are going to continue our European tour. We are going to be headed over to none other than the Nordschleife. We're heading to Germany, folks. We're going to be seeing quite the racing spectacle. So keep it here at SimSeniors. I have been Ben Sapsford, aka Sampitron. It's always a pleasure to be here in the commentary box. And the same time next week is when you'll see us head down to Germany continue our European excursion and go beyond that as well with the likes of Imola and more. But for today at least, thank you all for watching. You've been a brilliant audience. And for now, good night.